Thank you for staying with us, everyone. For our last plenary, we have two exceptional sessions. So let's begin with a debate titled, Businesses Will Never Be Brave. That's a very bold statement. And for this very special format, I'm happy to call on stage Sophie Lambin from Kite Insights and Stephen Dunbar-Johnson from the New York Times. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. And Charlotte asked earlier, is it a question? It is a statement. It is not a question. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to the New York Times debate curated by Debatable. I am Sophie Lambin. I'm the founder and CEO of Kite Insights and also the curator of Debatable. And I'm delighted to be joined here by my partner in crime, Stephen Dunbar-Johnson, President International of the New York Times, with whom I will co-moderate the debate.
Thank you, Sophie. I'm very pleased to be here, in large part down to you, Sophie, and that we could bring the New York Times debate, curated by Debatable, to the Women's Forum again. We're thrilled to be here. These debates, in a world of deep polarization, when so much commentary seems to be about yelling at each other without listening, are intended to emphasize the art of deep listening and nuance, where we can hold two perceived truths in our heads at the same time. And crucially, dear audience, where we can disagree well.
Thank you, Stephen. So before we begin, I would really like to thank the Women Forum for enabling yet again another courageous conversation today and jumping headfirst in that innovative, albeit ancient, debate format. Now, as Stephen just alluded to, this debate is really not about just winning the argument, though I'm sure our debaters are bracing themselves to do exactly that. But it's about creating a safe space to reveal some of the tension that lies behind the issues that matter. And again, as Stephen suggested, learning to disagree agreeably, thus allowing us to shape a collective future. Before we meet our debaters, I would like to turn to you, the audience, because you have a very key role to play today. In the grand tradition of ancient debates, in the Greek agora, the Roman forums, or the grand hall of medieval disputation, the crowd was never passive. Their job was to cheer, to jeer, to hiss, to stamp their feet. So please, remember, the energy you will inject in this debate is nearly as important as the debater's words. So don't hesitate to clap, whoop, when the debaters make a good point, or a point you love, though no throwing of tomatoes, of course. Because in the end, audience, it is really you who will decide which side has made the strongest case. So, the motion tonight is business will never be brave. Before we hear from the debaters, Stephen, can you give me your take on that motion?
It's a complex topic, put it mildly, but it's clear, and especially listening to some of the inspiring leaders and businesses we've heard from throughout today, that many businesses do, in fact, act bravely. So I think the task this evening, I feel, is not to debate the definition of bravery, but to debate what bravery in business is in the round and why that matters. It is about the culture of business as a whole, not a few heroic exceptions. In many ways, I think it's about the role that business should play in society and how leaders can lead with conviction for the long term, in a way that it benefits all stakeholders, including the community or communities in which businesses operate, and society as a whole. So that's my general feeling, but it's a challenge.
Thank you, Stephen. And I think you're right. It is hard, and it is hard in part because systems are not necessarily designed or built to reward the kind of courage that you describe. But that doesn't mean that change is impossible. Which brings me to why are we debating this subject today? In many ways, business has never been more powerful. It's also being tested in a new way, and leaders have to reconcile many contradictions across different time horizons in the short and the longer term. So the question we are asking ourselves today, can businesses act bravely in a world that fundamentally rewards caution? I think we should stop now because we should leave something for the debaters to unpack and argue. And with that, I think it's also time to bring our debaters to the stage. So please, audience, prepare yourself and give a huge round of applause to our debaters. On the fourth side, we have Rebecca Henderson, Alisa Sydow, and Clover Hogan. Woo!
And arguing against the motion. Thank you. They deserve that music. But we have the fabulous cocktail of talents represented by Shannon, Joly, Mariem, Sav-Sow, and Fatou Thiam. Please join us on stage. So let's get into character. We have two teams of debaters, a for side, an against side, and a panel of esteemed and rather intimidating jury members sitting here at the front in the shape of François Taddei. Please wave so people see you. Agatha Meysner. And the rock star that is Hannah Jones. Hannah.
Woo!
And Sophie and I, without any of losing any of our neutrality, will temporarily stand in allegiance with a team.
So I will be temporarily representing the for team, and Stephen will temporarily represent the against team.
But first, I want to take the temperature of the room. That's you guys. Let's take a vote using the latest, incredibly sophisticated New York Times, technologically advanced
and carbon neutral.
Zero carbon method of clapping. So, please clap and cheer if you agree with the motion. Business will never be brave. If you agree with that business will never be brave, please clap now.
There's already a side emerging.
And if you disagree and think businesses will be brave, please clap now. And if any of you are undecided around the motion, please clap.
Thank you, Laure.
Before, I'm just going to say, it's important that you suspend your bias.
I'll come to that.
Okay.
You're just stealing my words.
Okay, it's important though.
All right. No, you're right. So, thank you for this. And we have seen debate being swayed in most interesting ways, so be prepared for a shift in the room. So let it be known again, if I can just repeat that with this motion, business will never be brave. We're not coming to you with a statement of truth. We're coming to you with a provocation. The debaters are themselves not necessarily debating from the position of personal conviction. They have bravely agreed to defend that position for the sake of the debate, which, as you can imagine, takes a mix of creativity, ingenuity, empathy, humility, etc. Anyway, they need your support throughout the debate. And when you listen to them, as Stephen was about to say, just hold off to your own bias, your own opinion, and really think about, are they provoking me to think differently? Are they making me smile, groan, cry? I don't know. Just really look at the argument, the quality of the argumentation, and maybe keep your opinion aside, at least for this time. Because what we really want to do here is to move beyond binary narrative to truly understand the other side of the argument as a mean to act together, and again, as Stephen said, as a mean to listen deeply to better understand what's at stake, which is more important than ever in moments of increased polarization. And yes, also at 5:20, we want to bring a bit of levity and joy to the room.
So, house rules, most important parts. Listen up, everybody. Debaters, you each have 3 minutes to speak. And a warning, if you exceed your 3 minutes, you will be cut off, most likely by Sophie, who is much tougher than I am. A member of the for team will speak first at these podiums, and then a member for the against team, and so on. And both members of the debaters will stand at the podium listening to each other's arguments. After you've all spoken, we will turn our attention to the jury. The jury will resist, listen up, intimidating jury members, you will resist the urge to judge and will not decide who wins. The jury's job is to present challenges to the debaters. You will shine a light on what you liked, but also on what you feel the debaters may have missed. All of this is because, debaters, you must take good note of what the jury members are saying, because you will then confer for 3 minutes before one or all of you return to the podium, where you will have 1.5 minutes to make your final rebuttal. The moment when the gloves come off and hopefully you land the crucial points to clinch victory. And then, of course, the deciders of who clinches victory is you good folk out there. So listen attentively, suspend your biases.
Thank you. So ready to kick off? All right. Debaters, you ready to kick off? If we can have the first pair coming to the stage. So on the faux side, I'm delighted to welcome Rebecca Henderson. You should see Rebecca's true credentials here. But the fun fact about Rebecca is that she plays cello, arguably quite badly. But that's only because it's a very difficult instrument.
And on the against side, we have Fatou. Fatou's fun fact is that, allegedly, she can stay up for 3 days without the use of caffeine, which is a superpower I want. Now, before you both start, I just want to remind you, watch the clock. You have 3 minutes, okay?
Good luck. Rebecca? You go.
Business will never be brave, or rather, business will hardly ever be brave. Why? 4 key reasons. First, if you're running a company of any size, you are not acting on your own behalf. You are responsible for your employees, for your customers, for your supply chains. It's easy to say, be courageous, but in today's hugely tumultuous and difficult world, you will focus on the bottom line and what you need to do now. If you do not do so, you face the threat of imminent removal. I spent 15 years on a Fortune 200 board. We once had a raider in the stock. The board was warned that the raider's minions would go through our garbage, attempt to embarrass us in public, and turf us out if we did not do exactly what they said. The threat of removal is very real. Focus on the bottom line, make me money, that's your job. Business will hardly ever be brave because the people who run businesses have no expertise in bravery. They were hired because they know how to sell soap or build cars or run hotel chains. They do not have the expertise required to judge among today's hugely difficult issues, and they have very little incentive to develop it. They are busy, they are running a firm, they have hardly any time to sleep, let alone think about the great issues. And last, business will hardly ever be brave because they are not paid to be brave. The people who run our large corporations are paid to maximize profits. And if they do so, they often make exceedingly large sums of money. It is easy to talk about courage. It is easy to talk about being brave. But if my investors will remove me if I misstep for even a quarter or two, if I have no expertise in speaking in these kinds of ways, and if I feel deeply responsible for my employees and customers and their well-being, and I stand to make a great deal of money by not rocking the boat, I will stay quiet. Business will hardly ever be brave.
Bravo.
Rebecca, thank you, Rebecca. Fatou, are you ready? Watching
Yeah.
the clock, 3 minutes. The floor is yours.
Okay, so unfortunately for my teammates and I think we are going against emotion, so we risk just standing here being the devil's advocates, looking like some evil corporate greed lawyers who are trying to convince you that actually businesses will be brave and stand for what is morally right. But to be honest with you, I feel like the bravest thing I can do today is go against the very human tradition of blaming everyone and everything else before our own choices, our own willingness to accept that, well, there is just so much one individual can do within this powerful, magically manipulated by invisible hands, right? Because despite the fancy names and big buildings, businesses are and have always been just us. It's just groups of human beings, just like you and I, who are working towards a common goal. So when we say that businesses will be brave, we are really saying that you, as human beings, are actually capable of being brave. We should not see businesses as separate entities, because when we do, we subconsciously victimize ourselves and greatly reduce the power in our collective actions. Businesses will be brave because as human beings acting through them are capable of bravely questioning the legitimacy and impact of our daily actions at work, the orders that we receive, and the ideas we choose to champion. Now, when you have distrust for just how brave businesses can be, given they're all players in a market that only incentivizes short-term strategies to maximize shareholder profit, I'm not going to sugarcoat my arguments by telling you that every single morally right decision that we need right now can be done while maximizing profits and increasing returns. Because it just can't. Sometimes it can't. And we should be okay with that. Because it begs the question, what almighty force has set that system us and forced us and our businesses to only play by these rules? Because it's not like some decades ago, a spirit descended from the sky called Milton Friedman, telling us that the main responsibility of all businesses is to maximize revenue and increase returns to shareholders, and we can never question this. It is time that we take a step back and see businesses as our own things, our own tools to actually have an impact in this world and figure out a way to go against the systems that do not allow us to do this. Thank you.
That was a wonderful first round. So now to the second round. Thank you. Oh, actually, yeah, to the second round. Let's go straight to the second round because we need to speed up. On the fourth side, we have, please, the second round, come to the stage. On the fourth side, we have Alisa Sydow. Alisa's fun fact is that every Sunday she's making handmade pasta and identifies herself as an Italian, despite being German. Yum, yum.
And on the against side, we have Mariem Sav-Sow. Mariem loves designing her own clothes, apparently. That was fantastic.
As you can tell.
Sourcing fabric, especially kitenge, the richly colored East African fabric, and into the creative process. So you are modeling your own creativity this evening.
Now to the arguments. 3 minutes. Alisa, you ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes, businesses will never be brave, and here is why. First, bravery belongs to people. Businesses are machines of constraint. A founder can act from conviction, quit a job, take an unpopular bet, push a product before there is consensus. That's bravery. But once a startup becomes a business, it becomes a coalition. Investors, customers, regulators, employees. Decisions move from what is right to what keeps the coalition intact. Principle is diluted by process. Courage gives way to compliance. Second, this dilution intensifies at scale, especially if we look at emerging markets. We must drop the Western myth that if you want to change society, start a business. That is not a universal rule. In many contexts, the operating environment pushes courage. Consider just one indicator. In 2019, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants reported that in sub-Saharan Africa, 64% of firms see corruption as a serious obstacle to their development. So when rules are opaque, enforcements are uneven, and basic infrastructure unreliable, refusing to play along isn't brave, it actually might kill your business. So to ship, to hire, to raise capital, you must engage in power. Custom decks, licensing authorities, politically connected lenders say no at the wrong moment and your goods sit at the border. Your payroll is missed, your reputation might be damaged. So scaling in such conditions does not reward bravery, it actually taxes it. So behaving differently and saying no at the wrong moment because you believe it is right can also be punished by society. In every society, and especially in emerging markets, social norms decide what counts as right and wrong. The courage to push against those norms is often not accepted and can actually carry severe consequences. So for you as a founder, but also for extended kinship ties. So, where does real change come from? The real change comes first from communities, and they start by identity, by dignity, and by conviction. They are not starting with business sheets. So it's really that the order matters, and that is why businesses will never be brave.
Woo! Thank you, Alisa.
Mariem, Sav, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Allow me to start with a story. Let me set the scene. This was at the beginning of my career. I had the courage, yes, to pitch an idea to my then boss, something that I thought, was going to change the way we were working. And when I mustered the courage to present to him this bold idea that I had, he said, wow, this is amazing. When he said that, I was feeling good about myself, like, oh, I just managed to convince him. And then he said, but what about the quarterly profits? It gave me pause, because I was not expecting that kind of reaction. Now, you may be wondering, am I making a mistake because I should have been on the other side? No. I'm starting with this story to tell you that we are aware that the system is flawed. We are aware that there are issues perhaps in the way we do business. But the story that I just shared is a story from 15 years ago. In the meantime, I've been lucky enough as a minority, as a woman, to sit at the table, to bring that brave side of myself, and to see that actually the issue is how you frame the question. If you talk about bravery, then people oftentimes in the business rooms, there's a bit of a, no, this is not what we're doing. So I would like to reframe this by saying that bravery is making an impact through strong business strategy. It's not acting for social and environmental acclaim. It is about focusing on the core business. And I do believe businesses can be brave because business can step into the unknown. We all know about VUCA. We were all here, when polls oftentimes miss election outcomes. We know about the pandemics. We know about AI. We know about so much uncertainty. But if not businesses, then who? The government? I mean, I'm not trying to vilify them, but let's keep it real for a second. They're all about short-term handouts and no long-term vision. So ultimately, businesses will be brave because long-term economic success demands it. Courage is not about moral gestures or chasing trends. Courage, in my opinion, is about resilience, it's about innovation, it's about growth when the outcome is uncertain. And when I think about businesses, I think that we do have the operational capabilities. We have the capital, money matters. We have the global supply chain, we have the speed. So businesses will absolutely be brave. But when I think about it, that's not even the question. The question is, can we afford for businesses not to be brave? Thank you.
Wow. That was great. Thank you. And don't forget the audience, you can clap and whoop during the argument to encourage the debaters. That was phenomenal. Well done. Last round. If you can come to the front. So on the far side, we have Clover Hogan. Clover wanted to join a circus when she was young, and then she learned to ride a unicycle. In fact, I'm sure she could debate on that unicycle. She's quite talented.
And on the against side, we have Shannon Joly. Shannon's children are named Leon and Harper, which is also a clothing brand here in France. She claims that this was completely by chance, although people do ask you whether you founded the brand, I understand. So,
Clover, 3 minutes. The floor is yours.
Not long ago, I was sitting in the boardroom of a major fashion brand. An analyst pulled up images of Bangladesh, where most of their manufacturing happens, and he explained that at current rates of global heating, by the year 2050, as much as a third of the country will be completely underwater, triggering a massive refugee crisis among many other issues. Now, I thought, this is it. This is the moment where the people in this room realize that they can't keep continuing with business as usual, that their model, their business model, is not just morally corrupt, but existentially doomed. But that's not what happened. In a blink, the conversation pivoted to where they might have to move their manufacturing. What about Vietnam? Will Vietnam be underwater? What about India? Will India be too hot? There was no pause, no empathy, no accountability. And that's because businesses today, they're not rewarded for doing what's right, not even for doing what's logical in the long term. They're rewarded for driving growth, profit margins, and shareholder returns, and doing so as quickly as possible. We saw this when Trump returned to power. Leaders who had proudly proclaimed their net zero commitments and their DE&I programs very quickly discovered the limits of their so-called bravery. Faced with real political pressure, they cozied up to a strongman who has led the largest rollback of environmental protections in US history, someone who is undermining democracy as we know it. They chose to protect themselves. Of course, there are exceptions. Small B Corps that embed purpose, local shops that care for their communities, and there are mavericks within corporations. Emmanuel Faber from Danone, who prioritized sustainability. David Stever at Ben & Jerry's, who stood up to Trump and defended a free Palestine. Yet in both cases, they were ousted. The system has no mechanism to protect, let alone reward, people who prioritize fairness over profit. So when I think of bravery, I picture indigenous land defenders in the Amazon who are sacrificing their lives to stop illegal mining and logging. I picture my friends who have been arrested for peacefully protesting. I picture whistleblowers who risk exile and persecution simply for telling the truth. The bravest people I know aren't in the corridors of corporate power. They are on the outside, challenging the status quo instead of upholding it. So until our economic system rewards those people, businesses will never be brave.
Shannon, the clock has been reset. If you need it another few seconds, we will give you a few seconds because Clover, as brilliant as she is,
all right.
need to go over the...
If you need them.
Thank you.
Shannon, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Well, I realize that my top is very brave today. We shall see. So, bravery is humility. Bravery in business is not about confrontation, dramatics, or heroics. True courage comes from the humility to recognize unknown gaps, widen the aperture of insight, to encourage alternative thinking and action. Today, we are seeing a remarkable convergence. Moral decisions are increasingly profitable. Acting on this alignment in a world shouting the contrary and still structured to reward short-term thinking requires patient conviction, not flashy gestures. So recognizing opportunity where others see only conflict is inherently brave. Bravery is existential. The stakes are unavoidable. This is no longer optional. It is a direct business reality. CDP data shows that 67% of corporates and SMEs identified environmental risks with substantive financial effects. Acting on these risks makes good business sense. The estimated impact of risks is $6.5 trillion US dollars, opposed to the cost to mitigate of $1.4 trillion US dollars. So businesses that fail to act are not merely negligent, they are jeopardizing their own survival. Bravery is now existential. It is about acting with foresight and courage in the face of systemic risk. Bravery is clarity, aligning profit with purpose. The opposition will tell you that businesses are only driven by profit. And I agree. That's exactly the point. Profit itself is changing. Every US dollar spent on responding to climate risk offers a return of up to 21 US dollars. CDP data also says that opportunities already materializing in the last reporting year totaled $1.3 trillion. So the brave business today isn't the one ignoring the planet, it's the one embracing it as a potential driver of profitability. So when risk regulation, reputation, they all point in one direction, courage lies in adapting early, not clinging to a broken model. So yes, businesses are profit-driven, and that's why they'll be brave. This requires long-term thinking, imagination, and the courage to redefine what success looks like. The future belongs to the brave. Ultimately, bravery in business is quiet, persistent, principled, demonstrated by companies that maintain their commitment despite uncertainty, by leaders who make sustainability a strategic imperative. These are the brave businesses that are shaping the future, not by spectacle, but by consistent, courageous action that aligns profit, people, and planet. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
You got your extra minutes. So, audience, well done. The plot thickens, I don't know about you. It is very compelling on both sides. It's up to you. Please, first, give a huge round of applause to the debaters. That was remarkable. Now, I'm going to promptly invite the jury to come to stage. And jury, you are in the very enviable or unenviable position to stir things up a little bit and to give us your opinion. So please, can we give the jury a mic? Stephen, if you can remind them quickly what they need to do.
So, jury, I just remind you, we want you to show your love for what you've just heard. But most importantly, can you just give us a sense of what they may have missed in the arguments, what you liked, but particularly remember that they're going to come back and give a rebuttal. So give us a succinct little piece of advice for each side. Thank you.
2.5 minutes. or less?
Thanks for all this nice presentation. You were very brave on both sides, for sure. That's I can say. I think we have challenged a little the definition of bravery, but I think that, you know, the ancient that was mentioned initially has not been alluded to very much, you know, from the heart and from the courage and the bravery to fight for something that is more than yourself. Okay? Are you brave if you fight only for yourself, or can you be brave only if you fight for something bigger than yourself? Then, you know, how would that, you know, on both sides, maybe you want to look at this. Then there is another point, which is there's the never in the never be brave. You briefly alluded to it. You said maybe B Corp can be brave, you know, but then we can challenge the never, okay? Maybe business can be brave if they change the rule of the game, okay? Would that be possible? And if yes, would it take bravery to change the rule of the game? Okay, like creating a big corp rather than, you know, a standard corp, or maybe, you know, making every corp big corp at some point. How would we change that rule of the game? Would then the ability for business to be brave be more likely? Okay, so I would like to, you know, challenge that dimension, and I think that this bravery is serving something bigger than ourselves. So you alluded to it, but there is a sort of a game theory trap here. Okay, are we making something for more than ourselves, but are we rewarded for it? So should we change the rule of the game for that sort of rewards to be acceptable? So should there be something that changed those meta rule of the game, and then everyone could be brave in the sense of fighting for the future generations and fighting for more than the survival of a company? Thank you very much.
François,
looking forward to your
Thank you, François.
answers.
It was great. Agatha, you next. Lots of challenges. Food for thought.
What a debate, right, everybody? So much energy, so much dynamism in the discussion. I love it. I love the fact that we have a space for a debate like this one. So a few points from my side. I think what really struck me is the relationship between the two sides to the system itself. So we're hearing about a system as an excuse for not acting, but we're also hearing about a system as a completely separate animal that's not part of the decisions that humans behind those businesses take. And I think this is a very interesting dynamic that I can observe in the kind of arguments that are being brought to the table. Now, what struck me is the foresight argument about the fact that the real change really happens and comes from communities, from grassroots, from indigenous peoples. This is the kind of argument that we want to hear and the kind of point that I think was super visible through all of the three stories. Now, on the against side, I heard a lot about how businesses are changing and that some of the mainstream ideas of being brave, of doing new things, of being innovative, and voting for those things that are different are actually becoming the reality. So this is also something that I really appreciate and that was very much brought throughout the three arguments. Now, what I would love to hear is how can we talk about bravery beyond defining it through the capitalist and profit and growth lens? So seeing a little bit more what does it actually mean to be brave, not just through the business perspective, but actually in the larger scale of things and also tying it to what François was talking about. And finally, as my time is about to finish, I'm just going to mention that what I would love to hear a little bit more is the role of businesses in the current reality, the kind of environment, social, human rights situation that we're in, and if the system is indeed what you consider a problem, then what is the role of businesses in changing the system itself?
Thank you, Agatha. Excellent sets of comments. Stay with us. And last but by no means least, Hannah Jones.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm lost for words. Thank you, everybody. It was amazing. I now don't know what I think, which is, I think, what you were trying to get me to do. I have a few questions for you all. Can we afford for business not to be brave? And the reason I ask that question is because of the power and the force that business has. So my provocation to each of you is, rather than this polarized view, where do you meet in the middle? And if, as so many of you on both sides pointed the finger at, actually there are a bunch of really great people in businesses, but really it's the system that's bigger than them, then the question becomes, what does the courage of all the people working in business need to focus on in order to create a situation where anyone that steps forward is going to be protected as they innovate the new? I'd like us to explore then the container of business. We assume that it's a monolith on this side, and over here we talk about people and individuals. It is both. So the question I have is, what has to be true for the container of business to enable it to be brave? What might not happen, and in which case you lot are all going to win? So perhaps focus more on the container, less on the hope that individuals will persevere, and more on the incentives, and tell us how we get to a place where it's neither of you are wrong, but you're both right.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you, jurymen. Please give them a round of applause.
Stephen, I'm sorry to interject in a well-scripted sequence, but we have a VVIP person that is going to arrive. So, debaters, the good news is you're going to have much more time than usual to confer and reflect on your rebuttal, because we're going to take a pause for you to go back into the room, reflect on what the jury have said, while a VVIP person comes, and then we'll come back to finish the debate. How exciting that is!
So, do not, audience, you have to stay.
You all have to stay, of course.
Vote. So we're going to have what, a 20-minute...
10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm not quite sure. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The audience will have the opportunity to reflect among themselves as well. What would they say if they had to come back and do the final rebuttal? You probably thought, thank God, so I'm not in that position. And then we have the finale of that. So please, thank you, everyone, and we leave the stage.
So by now, you're all probably wondering about the outcome of the debate we're on stage before welcoming Madame Braun-Pivet. So let's find out, shall we? Thank you very much.
Isn't it great to have the President of the National Assembly as a warm-up act for our before the final rebuttals? Before we ask our jury members to come back with the final rebuttals, I just want to mention a couple of things about the theme today is courage. The theme of this debate is bravery. And to come up on stage in front of all of you and make the case, and we don't know, by the way, what their own bias and convictions are, but to have the courage to come up here and do that, I think embodies both courage and indeed bravery. So before they come back, can you please give them all a round of applause? Thank you. Okay, and I think we're going to start the reverse. We're going to have the against side are going to start first. And you've decided to do, all three of you are going to...
Yes, we will, all three, and I'll hand off.
And you're going to have 2 minutes, okay? So the clock is there, and the 2 minutes are going. So
Thank you. So I'm going to start with the rational argument, and then we're going to get more emotional as you listen to my debate team members. So rationally, it's inevitable. Business is brave today, it'll be brave tomorrow, because profits will be aligned with externalities. The only reason why we have seen in our recent history business be anti-people and anti-planet is because we have not taken in to our decision-making the indicators that we needed from the start. It has been absent from boardrooms, absent from strategy sessions, and now that those data and indicators are coming into the debate, onto the boardroom table, the decisions are being made in a different way. And we're seeing profits align with that. So to me, capitalism is actually going to be a system that can enable an Earth-positive planet and enable our people to thrive. So it's inevitable. Over to you.
Yes, so I wanted to quickly bring back a very nice argument from the 4 team, saying that bravery is actually coming from communities and our identities, because that's true. But why can't we visualize businesses as actually communities, coming from human beings' natural instinct to actually come together for a common good? Thank you.
I'm not surprised this question is being asked, because frankly, who runs businesses? Overwhelmingly men, right? So to me, the question is, if it were women running these businesses, we are brave by nature. We've seen it demonstrated all day. Under the most dire circumstances, we go against the odds, we fight, we have it in us. So I will answer the question, businesses can be brave, businesses should be brave, women-led businesses, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, well, well. That was a bit of an audience pleaser, I can see. Surely the 4 team can counter that. Over to you.
So today you've heard from the opposition that the market is already shifting.
Hold on, start again. Can we start the timer again, please? We don't want to lose. 2 minutes, thank you.
I'm going to use every minute. So today you've heard from the opposition that the market is already shifting, that long-term investments outperform short-termism, and even that corporations reflect the will of the people. As an activist, I sincerely wish all of that were true. I could just go home right now. But this is not the moment for fairy tales. We heard about businesses being constrained. Who do you think have created those constraints? Businesses have consistently lobbied against the very regulations, the very guardrails that would hold them to account. Take the fossil fuel industry, which has spent decades employing a campaign of delay, duping the public, and delaying policy. We are not debating right now whether change is possible, nor are we debating if there are brave people within business. Of course there are. Many of them are in this room. We are debating whether businesses, plural, based on their comprehensive history, will be brave. In 1972, Milton Friedman, the father of free market capitalism, stated that the social responsibility of business is to increase its profits. 50 years later, our economic system rewards extraction and exploitation over responsibility and regeneration. It has given rise to the billionaire class, soon to be trillionaire, to the largest wealth and inequality gap in human history, and it has delivered us to the brink of environmental extinction. For a business today to be brave means taking action before it is convenient, before it is legally required, and critically, before it is profitable. And that is why business will never be brave.
That was amazing.
Well done.
Okay, audience, now this is the moment of truth. It's up to you to call the winner. Remember what we said at the beginning. Leave your own opinion on the motion aside. Nobody's going to be penalized for whatever side you vote. We are all going to be brave and vote for the team that we thought did the best job, put forward the most compelling argument. Okay? All right. So, I'm going to stand by the fore side. And Stephen,
you want me to stand over there?
No, well, I just want to make clear. So the for side is business will never be brave. The against side is business will be brave. If you think that the for side made a really compelling argument, please clap now. I like the lasting clap.
For those of you that believe that the against team made the most forceful, compelling arguments, please clap now.
Well, I think you were simply not compelling enough in your clapping, so we're going to have to do it again. If you think the four side did the best argument, clap now. Bit of whistling. Let's see if you get some whistling too.
And for the against team, please clap now. So you can clearly hold two sides.
No, it's okay. We'll gracefully concede that this team.
We're announcing the winners, the against team. Thank you.
Stephen, do you want to share some final wise words?
I just want to again thank everybody that participated this evening. I repeat what I said earlier, it takes a great deal of courage and conviction. There are some people here that I've seen debate before. You are always very impressive. Clover can not only do the bicycle thing,
unicycle.
you could do the trapeze and any other clown things that you want to do in the circus. Very talented. But thank you all for doing this. Thank you, the jury members, for participating. And thank you, dear audience, because it's your feedback that is so important here. These debates we have taken around the world to lots of gatherings, and this is the third time we've done it here at the Women's Forum. And the reason why we do it at the New York Times, really helped by the Kite team and the debatable series writ large, is that we believe it's so important to have intellectual, rigorous debate, but in a way that we can disagree well, as I said at the top. And I think that's been embodied here this evening. So it's a skill that we desperately need, and I would like to thank Sophie and everybody for helping bring it together.
Thank you, Stephen. And maybe if I can just say no disrespect to the winning team or the losing team, but the winners and losers are somehow secondary to the whole process. So I would like to invite the teams to hug it out, because you've been both absolutely wonderful and you've enlightened the room here. So thank you for that and for your amazing... And, you know, we have seen a bit of a shift, which means that people have been listening, which is really what the point we're trying to make here, to create a space for respectful listening. And again, I just want to thank, again, the Women's Forum. I think it's the 5th time we're doing this debate at the Women's Forum. So thank you for the Women's Forum to create a space for this kind of format. Thank you to you, the audience, for being gracious and for going along even with the pause. And thank you to you, Stephen, and to the New York Times for being a wonderful co-moderator. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, everybody. Well done.